Hi everybody, Stephanie Kraft here. This video is for twin flames and it's about facing the rejection of your own twin flame and how that is and can be the most liberating thing. So many twin flames stay in a pattern of not wanting to accept that their twin flame has rejected them. They stay in some land, like a fantasy land, that their twin is coming back, that they're going to be together with their twin, so they're in a state of denial. And even when their twin is showing no signs of contact, no signs that they're coming closer to them, no signs that that the twin actually wants to be together. And so a lot of people who are twin flames watch YouTube videos. And there are a lot of people on YouTube who are perpetuating some myth that the twin is coming, the twin flames are coming together, your twin is, doing the work on themselves so that there can be union. I obviously don't make videos like that, but the problem is that people get caught up in that idea, and it's kind of like a brainwashing. And even set aside YouTube videos, let's pretend they don't exist. It just happens naturally for a lot of twin flames where they can't even fathom that their twin would reject them. They can't contemplate it. It would be the most painful thing to face head on any even inkling that their twin has truly and honestly rejected them. People can make up all kinds of stories that their twin is just afraid, that they felt this intensity and they felt this love and they ran away. And so much of that is true a lot of the time, but that's not helping you move on with your life. Any kind of story you're telling yourself that is a coping mechanism, a way for you to handle this rejection, only prolongs your suffering and living in a state of hope that is what one of my friends calls pathological hope. And so that type of hope is like keeping you clinging to an idea or a fantasy, but not reality. And so the hardest thing we can do as a twin flame is actually face the legitimate rejection that our twin literally has no intention of being with us. And so a lot of my clients are stuck in that, or a lot of my viewers are as well, where they're not ready to let go of this idea of connecting with their twin and being with their twin. And so they're living their life sort of pacing themselves on, whether it's communication or seeing each other, or they're kind of orchestrating their life around the possibility of this, uh, inevitable union, or just any type of reconnecting. So the reason that people are not able to face that rejection head on is because it's triggering the deepest, most painful wound that they have, or wounds that they have from their childhood. And maybe even deeper than that. Maybe past life fears of abandonment and rejection from their twin, where it has happened in other lifetimes, but also a deeper spiritual fear of abandonment and rejection, that they that they are ultimately not wanted, not seen, not validated. And so this can be a deep spiritual pain from the, the feeling that God has abandoned them, or that they've been left here alone and that they're not loved and watched over. Sorry, I don't know why my throat just got dry and I don't have water sitting here. So just gonna probably try to get through the video. This is probably happening to me because it's also my personal story, which I can share with you. But I'm just gonna grab a cup of water, and I don't edit my videos, so we're just gonna keep it in there. Okay, sorry for that interruption. I got my water and that helped. So thanks for hanging in there with me. um, okay, so a lot of the times, if we're not willing to face that our twin flame doesn't actually want to be with us, we go into deep denial, like I said before, creating stories around it. No matter what the stories are, just these stories are ways to cope and deal until we're finally ready to face the reality. And yeah, I guess it's just going to be easier to explain this whole thing if I share, which is very personal. But why not, right? We're all going through this if you're watching this video, and perhaps it can help you to hear how I helped myself through this process. So I ended up writing to my twin flame and expressed my feelings. And he rejected me. Although he had expressed his love for me already, um, it didn't. He still rejected me. So it's not that I wanted my twin flame, even though I expressed it in that way a little bit to him. It was that I'm being totally honest here. I just didn't want him to reject me. I wanted him to want me, and then I would feel okay, even though I didn't actually want him. But it kind of felt like I wanted him. It and it in a way, even though it really wasn't that at all. It was, I knew I didn't want him. It was that I just wanted him to want me and accept me and love me and validate me in the ways, I guess, that I maybe felt that I needed. So when he wrote back and rejected me, um, in the kindest way he could, um, I took it as real. I accepted it 100%. Finally, after 5 years of thinking that he had these feelings for me, which he kind of expressed, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In the end, he rejected me. So I took that as being real. I didn't go into denial. I didn't make up excuses. I literally faced it head on in full reality for, I guess, for the first time, to that capacity. And I highly recommend it. So what happened to me was that night, so during the day, it was like this utter shock of like, the rug is pulled out from under you and you're just like torn, like ripped empty. Like you're just devastated in a way, but you're not really, you're coming to terms with it, you're accepting it, but you're not really feeling the full effect of it yet. And so that night I had to go somewhere and I was driving and I literally had my breakdown then when I was trying to go somewhere and I had to pull over because I was crying. And so it's such a vulnerable sharing that sharing with you, recording this video. But I guess it's okay to share at this level of authenticity and vulnerability because it's just me and my truth. So I was crying so hard that he rejected me, and I was saying these words came out of I pulled over, so I was safe, and I was just crying. It was dark at night, nobody could see me. It was really a big breakdown, and the words were coming out of my mouth. I feel like such a stupid little girl. I feel like such a stupid little girl. Those words came out of my mouth like that, like repeatedly. And I became the observer of myself. And I'm like, where are these words coming from? I've never said this in my life. And why is this feeling coming out of me? And then immediately it brought me to the rejection of my parents, that it's like this information download came in a packet in an instant of realization that my twin actually stood as a symbol as like a stand-in, a role for the actual rejection of my parents. My father was emotionally unavailable and unavailable in every way. He was married to my mom, and we all lived together in the house, but he was absent. He was a workaholic. That was all resolved later on near his death, at the time of his death, and we became close and healed everything. But growing up, he died when I was 29. So in the year 2000, I'm 48 now. But for those 29 years, I had felt the sense of rejection. Now, my father was close to me when I was a really, really little kid, like a baby and toddler and young. It was around 5 or 6 when I sensed, I was like 6 years old. I sensed this distancing from him. And anyway, that lasted until he died, until the very end. And so there was that. There was the absence of a father. Even though the presence of the father was in the house, I didn't actually have a father in the fatherly ways that you meet a father. He did nothing for me. He didn't talk to me. He never hugged me. He never said, I love you. No affection, really nothing, okay, from my dad. He did a few things I remember, like he taught me how to ride my bike when I was like 6 or 7, which was lovely and wonderful. But, there are these little snippets of memories, but they're very young age, and then it all stopped. Anyways, that's the case with my dad. And then with my mom, well, she's a narcissist and she was abusive. So she was way more devastating to me than my dad. My dad didn't hurt me. My mom ripped my soul out and crushed it and killed it and destroyed it, but I'm healed from that as well. But so that was my childhood. There's so much more to it. But the brief synopsis is that there was a sense of rejection, complete and utter, absolute rejection from both of my parents. And my twin came in as a stand-in to play a role to replicate and for me to relive all of those feelings of please love me, please see me for who I am, please hear me, please validate me. And actually my twin has done that for me completely. He sees me, validates me, hears me, expresses his love. All of that was there, but not the ultimate coming to me, to be with me. And that's the ultimate, right? You want somebody who's going to say, you know what? I see you for who you are, and I know you're the one for me. And the reason it takes the twin to get it to this deep level of pain and poignancy is that it's you in another body. It's literally your soul coming into another body to do this favor for you. Okay, so this is a favor for you to come and play that role to trigger all those deepest wounds so that you can once and for all heal them. They are not meant in a lot of these cases. Okay, I don't speak globally about twin flames, and I would beware of anybody who talks like that. All twin flames this, no twin flames that. Twin flames are coming together. All twin flames are meant to come together. Twin flames, there are only two. They're only romantic. I don't do that, and I would really ask you to try to steer clear of that because it messes you up, because those are not truths, and you want to get to the truth of the matter in your case. So in these cases, it will take your twin flame to come in and play that role for you, to hit at those most deeply painful places in you: the rejection, the abandonment, the fear of loss, the fear of not being loved or chosen. I had that fear of not being chosen because of many stories in my childhood and with my parents of that theme. And so here he was rejecting me, which was the most beautiful gift that I could have received from him. So I'm driving along, my breakdown begins. I'm in no shape to continue driving, even though I was on a very residential street. I needed to let myself feel, and I knew I needed to let these feelings process because they weren't easily accessible. I was in denial. Um, I worked my hardest to not be in denial for all those years, to try to fully accept he doesn't want me. He doesn't want me. He's not coming to me in that way. But because we are going to be facing our deepest pains and wounds, we can't always get there by ourselves. We can't always get to those tangible feelings of reality, which is what I was talking about in the beginning, is why we divert into fantasy thinking, into denial, into creating stories. But when this breakdown started in the car and I pulled over, I was like, okay, let yourself feel the truth of all of this, because I love healing. I love healing everything. So I was like, good, this is coming all the way up to the surface. I'm going to feel it all the way to its core. And then those words started coming out. I feel like such a stupid little girl. And obviously, he wasn't treating me that way. I wasn't putting myself in the position of being a little girl. I wasn't a little girl. So where were these words coming from? That's, like I said, I became the observer of it. And in that moment, it hit me. I'm grieving the loss of my parents, the loss of my parents' love that I needed and wanted, the loss of their acceptance of me, and the full embracing of me as their child. I had to grieve that loss in that instant, but at the same time, something happened to me. These realizations were coming so quickly, and the crying was clearing it out. And so I realized my twin was just a phantom symbol for representing those pains and wounds. And as soon as I got to the core of it, he disappeared. It all shattered into an illusion of, it really wasn't about that with him. And and his rejection of me is not real. And then I got to the layer of, the rejection of my parents is not even real. And then I got to the layer of where I'm fully supported and loved by God, and that my soul loves me and God loves me. And I'm putting this into words, but the way that it happened was full on soul level knowing. It was energetic, it was spiritual, it was deep, it was profound. It was a healing that happened, like a divine intervention that showed me the truth of all of this, the truth that my twin flame was a symbol for this healing and representation of this rejection, that his rejection wasn't even real. I know I'm repeating myself, and the reason I'm repeating these things in this video is because I know how hard it is to take these things in. And we need the repetition because we're trying to break ourselves out of any type of brainwashing that we've done to ourselves, or that by watching other videos, it has perpetuated it, or stories we've told ourselves, or denial. And that's why, because I'm repeating the themes here, because it does take listening to this type of thing over and over, because we're working on shattering these illusions and getting to the deepest level of our healing and where the pain really lies. What is the real pain here? It's not your twin. Your twin is a representation of it, coming and showing up in your life to show it to you. That's why so many of you are not willing to face it, because you think it's them. It's my twin. I need my twin. I need my twin to feel better, feel resolved. But it's not true. Your twin will continue to reject you because they're showing you where your wounds are. So if you can somehow face the rejection as a reality, it will lead to the ultimate freedom. So what happened in my breakdown, it was like the knowings were coming in nanoseconds, right? So it was like, oh my God, it's not about him. And I didn't even want him. So it was really easy for me to release him. But what I needed to release was that, or accept, was that he doesn't want me. He doesn't want me. And so it was like I could accept it in that moment fully. Then my parents, they don't need to, they never needed to um, be there for me, because I'm there for me. So, because God is there for me. So the next layer that came in was, none of this rejection is real. The only rejection is the rejection of yourself. By continuing to want your twin to solve all of this for you, it's an unconscious desire on your part. You want your twin because then you'll feel better. It's, they want you, you want that. It's an unconscious desire because the feeling better is the resolving of your inner pain, right? Your wounds. So the way that you're rejecting yourself through that desire of your twin, you are rejecting yourself the whole time. You're rejecting that you give yourself validation, you give yourself self-worth and love, and it comes directly from you, your soul, and God, of which you are all a part. You cannot be rejected by an outsider. The only rejection is of yourself to yourself. Is that clear? I hope I'm making this clear, because that was the next layer of healing that came in. I'm telling you, this was happening within seconds. Within a second, it all came to me. And I knew no rejection is real. You are not rejected. It's all a facade. It's an illusion. And when you come to that knowing, you get to the ultimate truth of being one with God, being loved by God, being supported in that way, and that you are that, and that's your soul connection to yourself, to God, and that can never be broken. And that's all you have, and that's everything. And that's what I felt. That's everything. Everything else here is an illusion. My parents, my twin. So that what happened when this healing event was happening during my breakdown was this, okay, I'll try to explain it. It was like there was a membrane around me that held me within that illusion of wanting my twin to want me, even though I didn't really want him. I still wanted him to want me because that was where my pain was, the rejection and abandonment. Because I knew he wasn't the right person for me from day one. Day one, I knew, but right, no denial in that. I had no denial. He's the worst man. Actually, the words that ran through my head the first day we met was, he's the worst man on the planet for me. And I was never in denial about that, but he was triggering my wound of fear of rejection and abandonment and loss. So I wanted him to want me. So that's what my twin story was about. So, okay, so I'm in the car. I get the reality of the situation, and I was in a membrane, a bubble during my 5 years of knowing him, which all of the stuff that I just talked about was playing out. The fear of the rejection, the denial of the rejection, because he had repeatedly rejected me anyway. But this time it hit because I was willing to face it head on, no denial, full acceptance. And I shot through this membrane, and I shot through into space, into the real reality of the universe and God's love and the real love. And I'm explaining what happened, even though I was still sitting in my car. You know how you have like a vision, an inner vision, a knowing of what's happening to you as energetically, emotionally, and at the soul level. Well, this is what happened. I shot out of that membrane, and I was on the other side in ecstasy, other side of the membrane. I was free. It was my ultimate liberation. I was suddenly freer than I had ever felt in my entire life. I was ecstatic, excited, full of joy. It's hard to put into words this expansion of ecstatic joy and bliss and freedom and liberation that I felt. But that's what happened. And I wrote to him I think it was the next morning, that this had happened, that I have never felt freer and happier in my entire life. And I don't think he understood why, but this is the explanation. And I'm sharing it publicly with you because I'm telling you, when you're willing, and it's not an easy thing. I mean, part of me just wanted to die for a moment when I was facing this, when I was experiencing this breakdown initially, and I had to pull over and I was crying. Of course, the pain was so great that I didn't know what to do about it or do with myself. And then this healing began to unravel everything that I've just shared with you. And so when you're willing to face it head on, full acceptance, and you're willing to face the real pain that you're preventing yourself from feeling by still wanting your twin, by still putting the attention on the twin as the twin is the solution, the twin is the problem, the twin is, you know what I'm saying? Like constantly it's about the twin. When you stop doing that and you face the actual real pain and what it's really about. And I know it's not easy to get to that. It's not easy to get to it, which is why I said to myself, you're going to feel this because it's coming up to the surface. And I knew I wanted to be free from this thing, and it worked. And it happened. So that's why I titled it Facing the Rejection from Your Twin is Your Ultimate Liberation. It is your ultimate freedom. If you really take to heart the words that I'm saying in this video and watch it again and again to really get it, you may need some support from some kind of, somebody like me, or a therapist or counselor or healer, hypnotherapy, energy healing. If you aren't able to access the depths of it, but you know logically, consciously what it's all about for you, get some support to get to that so that you can really face this head on, so that you can also experience this liberation and this freedom and this joy that has been everlasting. So this all happened in April of 2019, and here we are in November of the same year. And this freedom, this joy has never left me. I have so much peace, and there's zero desire for my twin. Zero. There has never been an even for a nanosecond, any desire for him to want me, accept me, nothing, none of it. It's been gone. It went poof. It all went poof that night in the car when I was willing to face this and broke through that membrane and shot through into the reality of who I am. The reality is that you are an incarnation from your own soul. Your soul could never reject you. Therefore, your twin really can't. It's not real. The rejection from your twin is not real. It's not real. I don't want you to use that to keep yourself in the illusion of it and the denial of it. But the ultimate rejection of you is not real. That's your soul coming in to do this favor for you. And so I forget what I was saying, but the reality that I was saying, that the reality of you is your soul, your connection to God, and there is no rejection in that. None. It can never be. And it is everlasting love and oneness. That's what it is. You are. That's what you are. Everlasting, undying love and union and oneness with the all that is, the pure, true, divine love and oneness, which is God, or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter what you call it, right? All right, well, that's the end of this video. You can find me on my website, stephaniecraft.com. I do twin flame healing sessions. I have helped people through this process privately in my sessions. And if you need any help in this process that I'm talking about, I am a healer and I am empathic and intuitive, and I can get to the root of things and help guide you through them and clear them energetically and give you insight and help you on this journey. Okay, much love to everybody. Many blessings. Bye-bye.